Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're continuing the Ayin. We're in Parshat Vayetzei. Just to remind everyone that next week, Sunday night, Monday, I believe, Yud Aleph Kislev is the yahrzeit of the Ayin. Aboleinu l'toiva. Rav Melech Biderman, who was one of the main individuals in the last generation, at least for sure, that has been ma'ir, awakening the oilam to learn the Sefer the Ayin, has already been putting out different videos and clips of stories that he heard from people over the years. Befrat and B'didi Havi Uvda. Ourselves, we saw some, for sure, nisim that happened this year through the learning of the Ayin, and therefore I encourage everyone to take upon themselves to be mechazik in their learning, to encourage other people to learn. When you learn from the tzaddik sefer, befrat, someone who had no children, befrat, someone like the Ayin, for sure he doesn't leave a debt unpaid. In addition, more importantly in some ways, there's tremendous chidushim we learned and principles on how to serve Hashem in avodah, in musar, in anava. So we sort of double benefit that they're great Torahs, and we also do a chesed for a tzaddik who can't do chasadim in this world for himself. So we, in some ways, as low as this generation is, we have a milah that we could still learn, and we could still help other people, and there's a tremendous chesed. We're going to begin the piece, Vayar Hashem kisnu Leah. Hashem saw that Leah was hated, Vayiftach es rachma, v'rochel akara. The Vayetzei is going to say that on the face of it, the whole pasuk doesn't make sense. Now it's true, there's a midrashim, Rashi explains that klape Rochel, Leah felt that she was hated, even though chas v'shalom to say that Yaakov hated Leah. Yaakov was a tzaddik, b'chir sheba'avos, he loved Leah, but when in comparison to Rochel, there was a trillionth of a difference. That trillionth of a difference to Leah, it felt something. And because of that, Hashem had rachmanis on her and gave her children. But the Ayin says it doesn't make sense. Because it seems to be that if Rachel and Leah were on the same level, they both would have been barren. They both would have been unable to have children. And why was that the case? So the Ayin is going to teach us a tremendous chiddush in olam of Chasidus and a little bit of Kabbalah. We'll explain it to the best of our abilities. And we're going to learn some interesting insights on how to approach mitzvahs. U'lechayra, says the Ayin, ma chidush yesh kan? Shemashma b'avar kisnu Leah, because Leah was hated, lechein vayiftach es rachma. Mashma, which seems to indicate, she'im lehoisa snua, if Leah was not hated, again, as we explained, vis-a-vis Rachel, lehoya peseach, she would not have had children. It says the Ayin, the halay Bill of Zilpa lo yisnuim, Bill and Zilpa were not hated, right? V'afa pikein, and even still, they had children right away. They didn't have to wait. So what does the fact that Leah was hated have to do with the fact that Hashem gave her children? Now again, we know that this pshat from Rashi. The Ayin says, I want to understand it on a much deeper level, the derech avodah. V'lahavin zeh, to understand this and what the pasuk is teaching us, nakdam, we have to give an introduction. Hine yedua, we know, based on the Zohar, shaleya nikra olma diskasya. Leah is called the hidden world. V'Rachel nikras olma disgalia. And Rachel is called the revealed world. On a simple explanation, which the Ayin is going to say in a second, machshava, something that's in your mind, is hidden from everybody else. Nobody knows what you're thinking. That's called olam diskasya. Speech, when you reveal what you're thinking, that's called olam disgalia. In our world, there are things that are hidden, we can't see. That's called olam diskasya, right? Things that are hidden. And when it's things that are revealed, for example, Hashem did a nes for you, Hashem did something, you were unaware of it. 10 years later, you find out about it. Now it went from the olam of hidden, something that was hidden, to something that's revealed. That's also a big idea when we learn Chidushay Torah. When we reveal new halachas in Torah, we take something that's from the hidden world and we now bring it into the revealed world. And Leah, as we're going to see, was an example of the hidden world, and Rachel was an example of the revealed world. That's also why when at night, those that say Tikkun Chatzos, which is a tremendous idea to do, there's two oilamos. There's Tikkun Leah and Tikkun Rachel. Each one is misaken a different oilam. And Memela says the Ayin, V'nikra Leah, she's called Leah. Sorry, Hainu Bechinas Oilam Machshava Hu Biskasya. The idea, the world of machshava is hidden. I don't know what you're thinking, so therefore it's hidden. V'nikah Leah, and the olam is gali is called Leah. Bechinas loy, loy. We don't know anything about it. Nobody knows what's in your machshava. Uhu shorish hamitzvos loisaseh. That is the root of mitzvahs loisaseh, things that you are not allowed to do. Right? There's a mitzvah loisaseh not to light a fire on Shabbos. Right? There's a mitzvah say not to eat chazer. Now, why is this called the hidden world? Because nobody knows if you're doing this mitzvah or not. Right? Nobody knows that I had a taiva to light a fire and I didn't. You don't know it. Now, it's true that there are times that you're about to see someone light a fire and you stop him. But in general, in the machshava, I want to do something wrong. I want to speak lashon hara. Nobody knows that I want to speak lashon hara. Chas v'shalom. I hold myself back. That's called mitzvahs loisaseh. That's the olam diskasya. As opposed to mitzvahs aseh, everybody sees me doing it. Right? I put on tefillin in the morning. I give tzedakah. That's why tzedakah b'seiser is a great mitzvah, because it's one of the few mitzvahs that you do b'seiser that nobody knows about it. Right? Why is that important? The mekatrikim, the tzara klipa, the tuma cannot grab onto you when you do a mitzvah loisaseh. When you don't do an aveira, and now you're mekayim mitzvahs loisaseh, the tzara tuma has no chap to it. Right? Tzara tuma cannot grasp machshava, which is a very deep and important Kabbalistic concept, which is not for the purpose of the share. Why? Because you can't be a balgaiv over it. Nobody sees you doing it, right? You can't shuckle to yourself, okay, I'm looking, I want everybody to see that I'm not going to light a fire on Shabbos. I want everybody to see that I'm not going to eat chazer. I want everybody to see that nobody can see it, because it's all in your machshava, in your lev. Ki du aval nis tu machshava lev. Aval kein bechinas Rachel. Rachel is the opposite. Bechilas olam disgalia. Rachel is in the revealed world. Bechilas olam adibur. Shu shoish mitzvah saseh shoyse b'poyel mamish. It's a mitzvah say that everybody sees that you're doing it. Everybody sees you putting on tefillin, doing mitzvahs, going into a sukkah, learning Torah, v'nir lakol, b'shaskiyah mitzvahs. Everybody sees when you're doing the mitzvah. And there's a large potential that you're doing it that people should see you. And therefore, since it's possible that mitzvahs say people can see you, the chitzonim can grab onto it and take it away, which is something that we have to understand. Right? That's why we have a quiet Shemoneh Esrei. That's why we have a loud Shemoneh Esrei. This all falls into the same concept of olam disgali v'olam diskasya. V'zeh sh'amar kosov. Ve'einei Leah rakos. Now we can understand why Leah's eyes were wet and weak and red because of her crying. V'rochel hoyse yifas toya, yifas mara. Pirush Rashi, Leah hoya misyarash letipa b'chelko shel Esav. Leah was worried that she should not fall into the chelik of Esav. Right? Everybody knows this famous Rashi, that why did Leah cry? Leah cried because she was supposed to marry Esav, and she did not want to marry Esav. But it seems to be that Leah, according to this pasuk, was not beautiful. It was only Rachel that was beautiful. It's not true. We know that they were both Yifas Torah. But based on this concept that the Basayin taught us of Olam Disgalia and Olam Diskasya, that the hidden world, in a way, is saved from the Tzara Tumah, and the revealed world has the potential to be grabbed by the Tzara Tumah because everybody knows about it. You know why Leah was crying? Leah was crying because Rachel, to everybody, was Yifas Toyar. Now, Rachel doesn't literally mean Rachel. It means all of us have a chelik of Rachel. When we all do mitzvah saseh, and everybody sees it, that's a concept of Rachel. And we're beautiful because of it. Oh, look at the Sheni Yid. Look what the mitzvahs he's doing. Look at the talis that he bought. Look at the tefillin that he's putting on. Look at the mitzvahs that he's doing. The tzedakah that he gives. How he says Shema. How his sukkah. That's all a chelik of Rachel. It's all a chelik of Olam Disgalia. Right? And Leah was nervous that it could fall into the chelik of Esav. So Leah was constantly crying that Rachel, Yaakov, and Klal Yisrael, when they do a mitzvah that's revealed to everyone, which is called Olam Disgalia, would not fall into the chelik of Esav, the chelik of the Chitzonim. So the Basayin says, when Leah was crying, it wasn't crying for herself that she shouldn't fall into the hands of Esav. Yes, of course, that's Parshat. On a deeper level, Leah was crying that Rachel, when she does a mitzvah, which means when we, Klal Yisrael, do a mitzvah that's revealed to everyone, which is a dugma, a concept of Rachel, should not fall into the hands of Esav. This is why Leah's eyes were wet, were weak. Rachel is beautiful. Why was she beautiful? Because everybody sees what you do. When you give a good pilpul drasha and you give a good speech and you do a mitzvah in a great way, you're beautiful. People say, "Oh, look at this person. Look how he's machshav mitzvahs. Look how he fears the seder." Now, there's a big, tremendous importance for that, and that makes you beautiful in a sense. But there's a potential. A person can become a balgaiva from it. Leah was very nervous. Leah was constantly nervous that the chitzonis should not grab onto these mitzvahs. She was constantly crying to fix this. It wasn't that she was crying for herself. She was crying that when the Rachel, Yaakov, Klal Yisrael, those mitzvahs that everybody sees that we're doing, we shouldn't do it for personal benefit. We shouldn't do it that people should see, oh, look at this individual. We should do it l'shem Hashem. Now, however, we know there's a concept, says, there is a concept, though, that a person should always learn Shaloi Lishma in order to get to Lishma. Alkain, and therefore, because of this concept, Vayehev Yaakov as Rachel. Yaakov loved Rachel. What does it mean, Rachel? He loved the dugma, this idea that we should do mitzvahs even if there's a little bit of personal benefit. Why? Because eventually it will become to Lishma. The Yaakov connected himself to this idea to do mitzvahs aseh openly. But Leah was very nervous that even though Yaakov said it's good to do sometimes something shaloi lishma, they should be lishma, Leah was still nervous that the tzad atuma should grab it. Which means that in Yaakov himself, this concept of Leah awoke in himself to ensure that he does not do things for personal benefit. So let's chazer over. In Yaakov, there were two concepts. There was the idea of Rachel and the idea of Leah. The idea of to do mitzvahs that even everybody sees it, which is the revealed world, which is Rachel. And there's also the idea to make sure that things are done in a way, l'shem shemayim, so that tzad atuma cannot have any achiza, which is the concept of Leah. So on a simple explanation, Rachel and Leah are two different people. Leah was crying that she shouldn't marry Esav. And Rachel was beautiful because she didn't have to cry. And because Leah was crying all the time and she was hated, Klapei Rachel, Hashem opened up her womb as a bracha. The Basayin says that no, in every individual there's a dugma of Rachel and Leah. When the pasuk says, "Vayar Hashem kisnu Leah v'yiftach es rachama," the Rachel hosi yifas toya is referring to each individual Jew. Yaakov Avinu, in us, in all of us, there's a dugma, there's a concept of Leah to do things quietly and hidden, and there's a concept of Rachel. And when we do mitzvahs openly, which is a dugma of Rachel, who's Yifas Toyar, yes, everybody will see it, and we will become beautiful in the eyes of people. But there's a big concern, there's a big potential that we will have a little bit of personal interest, and the tzad atuma, the klippus will get it. And that's why Leah was crying, which means our Leah internally is always trying to awaken us to be very careful to do everything l'shem shemayim. Which means Yaakov in himself had a concept of Leah. That the pasuk is teaching us, and I just went a little fast because we explained it outside. That Yah Hashem kisnu Leah means that Hashem saw that within Yaakov there was Leah was snua to ensure that the mitzvah was not done for personal benefit. It's a concept of Leah, who snua be'enav nimas, that in his own eyes, Yaakov said, I'm a nobody, I'm hated, I don't think I'm anything special. Yeah, I'm doing these great mitzvahs, but I'm nobody, I'm a nothing. If you knew who I really was. To ensure that when he does a ma'ase of rachel, a ma'ase mitzvah that everybody sees, it should be done l'shem shemayim. And because that he was very careful to do that, Vayiftach Hashem es rachama v'rachel Leah. Pirush Pasuk Hashem es rachama, which is a hidden of reish ches mem mitzvahs. That because in Yaakov he had a concept of Leah that was hated, that he looked at himself that he was a nobody. Hashem opened up when he did the mitzvahs aseh that it should be b'shleimus. And then the Basayan continues that this is all hinted to, in every child that Leah had. U'keneged gimel b'chinas elu ha'sheichen l'maisa. We're skipping the next piece to the end, where it says that how do we know that Yaakov himself did all the mitzvahs b'shleimus, which means he took the beautifulness of the mitzvahs aseh that everybody should see him doing the mitzvahs. He combined it with the concept of Leah, of snua, that he should say to himself, I'm a nobody, I'm a nothing, to ensure that the mitzvahs were done only l'shem shemayim. Hashem saw my pain. Hashem saw that when I do mitzvahs, I only do it for Hashem. That Hashem saw that when I did the mitzvahs that everyone sees, I really did it for Hashem. That Hashem heard that I did the mitzvahs when I spoke out loud was only for Hashem. And so on and so forth. The children that came from Leah showed that when Yaakov Avinu did the mitzvahs of Rachel, which means the mitzvahs aseh, that everybody sees, was really combined with the dugma of Leah. So just quickly to recap, so we have it clear. The Basayan teaches us that when the pasuk says Rachel and Leah, yes, api Parshat Pshat, Leah was crying that she should not fall into Esav's hands. And because Rachel didn't have to cry, she had a much more beautiful complexion. But the Basayan teaches us that within Yaakov, and obviously within every Yid in Klal Yisrael, there's two dugmas. There's an idea to do mitzvahs aseh that everybody sees us doing it, which is Yifas Toyar, is beautiful, which is hinted in the concept of Rachel, that when everybody saw her. And then there's the concept of Leah, to do things, when you do things quietly, when you do things b'machshava, nobody knows about it, so there's no tzad that it can fall into the hands of Esav. Leah, that tzad in Yaakov, in Klal Yisrael, that represents olam diskasia, the olam that's hidden, to ensure that Esav has no hold on to it, was crying, kaviyachol, was awakening the individual to ensure that when they did the mitzvahs of olam isgalia, should not be caught by the tzaratumah. So when it says Vayar Hashem kisnua, Hashem saw that in Yaakov there was a concept that he hated himself, or he was hated and he was on a low level, in order that when Rachel, the concept when he did mitzvahs openly, which was beautiful, should not have any personal interest involved. And therefore Hashem said, Vayiftach Hashem es rachama. Hashem said, the reish ches mem mitzvahs that you did, I accept it as you did it, and which you did do it, b'shleimus, without any personal interest. And the proof is, says the Basayan, every child that came from Leah, or i.e. the concept of Leah, proves that Hashem saw Yaakov's true intent. And we should be zoicha that the learning that we do, the mitzvahs that we do, sai in the hidden world that no one knows that we do, sai in the open world that everybody sees that we do, should be completely l'shem shemayim, and then schus that Hashem should also open our rachamim on us, and we should be zoicha to see nisim v'yeshuos as we come up to the yahrzeit of the Basayan. We should be ma'or ourselves to continue to learn from his Torah and all Torahs for l'shem shemayim, and as a side benefit to help ourselves as well. But it should really be done as a chesed to the tzaddik, as to learn Hashem's Torah and to work on ourselves to become as much as possible, little by little, to become better avdus Hashem. Shkoyach. Have a wonderful day.